What's up, you sweaty nerds and greasy degenerates? Topaz will be releasing in Honkai Star Rail relatively soon, so it's time to go over what problems she may have coming into the game, because often, with some of the 5-star characters that come into the game, they might have some type of issue, maybe something we may need to be aware of when pulling for them, or something we may need to build around with the character, such as Dan Hung and Bibitor Lune being very skill point hungry, but we can work around this. So let's go ahead and dive into it so we can start looking at Topaz's butt. And just an FYI, throughout the video I'm going to be saying her name incorrectly. I don't know how to stop myself from saying Topaz rather than saying Topaz. So go ahead and make fun of me in the comments. I do encourage it. Please go ahead and rip me a new one. Alright, so there are some issues with Topaz that are more combat oriented, more meta oriented, that I know most of you probably clicked on the video for in the first place, so we will go over that so I don't piss you guys off. However, there are some other concerns that I have more related to how Hoyoverse released this character that I'm actually way more concerned about, so I do encourage you to stay till the end, but do whatever you want. I'm not your dad. Alright, so let's talk about Topaz's talent, which has a little bit of a restriction, and there's a little bit of a problem with that, but we'll get into it, and it'll make more sense as I go on. I guess let me cook a little bit, right? So firstly, Topaz and Nami have an ability known as Proof of Debt, which enemies with Proof of Debt will take 25% more damage from follow-up attacks, and Proof of Debt will randomly apply to a random enemy target at the start of battle, and you can use Topaz's skill to change that target or keep leaning into the same target, and Nami will perform a follow-up attack after every use of the skill. The issue with the talent is that in order for Nami to perform a follow-up attack on the enemy with Proof of Debt, you have to hit the enemy with Proof of Debt with a follow-up attack. Now, we can work around this. Some people will think, oh, that kind of makes sense, right? There's not really a problem there. But interestingly enough, some of Topaz's best team compositions actually don't use another follow-up attack character besides her on the team. Like Ting Yun and Asta, after running the numbers, a lot of people are saying, and I agree with this 100%, that Ting Yun and Asta are probably going to be the best pairings for Topaz when she releases. Of course, more testing will be done in the future, but that's not what we're talking about right now. Ting Yun will be giving energy and attack bonuses, damage bonuses to Topaz, and Asta will be providing a ton of speed and buffs to Topaz as well, which also creates a lot of energy because you will end up getting extra turns if you have this all built correctly. Topaz and Nami have separate places in the action order, so they will get buffed with speed separately, and basically you're going to end up getting this little engine going where you're going to get a ton of ultimates, you're going to get a ton of energy, a ton of damage, more actions, more ults, everything. You're just going to get a ton of stuff out of this little engine that you get. And the cool thing about Topaz and Nami is that during the ultimate buffed state that Topaz and Nami have, there's no restriction like the talent has. If an ally hits the enemy with Proof of Debt, you're going to get the follow-up attack from Nami no matter what, which is way better than the talent. But interestingly enough, with this team comp, you're never basically going to ever have that talent go off from a separate ally other than Topaz. So it kind of feels weird that you have this optimal team, but arguably the most optimal team doesn't get to utilize Topaz's talent at all. So it kind of feels a little bit bad. Now, a lot of people are saying, and I agree with this 100%, we've talked about this in my Discord, that Topaz is kind of like the Kafka of follow-up attacks right now. She's more of a sub DPS character that deals a ton of damage on her own, so she kind of like seems like a hyper carry or a main DPS when really she's more of a sub DPS character. And as more characters are released in the game, Topaz's value will simply go up as more follow-up attack synergies are created in the game, whether it's through relic sets or other characters that are released. We thought that Topaz might be able to help a character like Jing Yuan, interestingly enough, and the synergy is just not quite there as much as you may think. Jing Yuan actually still performs way better with 2 supports on his team rather than Topaz on his team, and same thing with Topaz. Jing Yuan doesn't elevate the Topaz team compared to literally like every other type of follow-up team or support team you could have. It's kind of wild. So it kind of feels a little bit bad that there's supposed to be this synergy there, but it just doesn't really synergize as well as we would have thought. And yes, there are really good combos you can get with this actually, such as Clara. I want to point out Clara really quick. I do have a team composition guide too if you want to check it out. Pin comment down below and description, but check this out. Clara on a Topaz team with March 7th and maybe Lynx or something like that. You put Lynx's skill on Clara. Clara will be more aggroed by the enemies. They're more attracted to Clara. You put March 7th shield on Clara as well. Then the enemy with proof of debt attacks Clara. Clara does a follow-up attack to that same enemy. Nummy does a follow-up attack to the same enemy. March 7th performs a follow-up attack to the same enemy. Nummy performs yet another follow-up attack to the same enemy. And this is all happening when it's not even your turn. Crazy 4-attack combo that's happening not even on your own turn. Now, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that, but we have a very similar effect to this in Ethereum Wars when we were playing with some of the characters there, where we actually managed to put like the Cannoneer behind the Imaginary Weaver and get 4 attacks in a row. It's kind of interesting that this mechanic came out in Ethereum Wars, and we're basically about to get the same thing with Topaz when she releases through Clara in March 7th. So it's actually really, really cool. There are a lot of fun synergies there. So I'm interested to see what the damage potential is on like a Clara, March 7th, and Topaz team. However, it does kind of feel bad that we are a bit restricted with team building, and some of the best teams don't even include a follow-up attack character. So I think that Topaz will be a character that will become better over time. She will make a splash when she comes out, but I think that her potential is not yet realized, and she'll just get better over time. So don't feel bad about Topaz. And I'm not saying don't pull for Topaz. I just think we should be aware of these different things when building Topaz, and if we're considering building for Topaz. So I just wanted to mention that. Now, don't get it twisted, guys. I'm not saying don't pull for Topaz. I'm pulling for Topaz on one of my accounts, if it kind of puts anything into perspective for you. It just kind of stinks that we have that issue with her talent, and I think her potential won't yet be realized until future patches. So besides those two things, I did want to talk about how Hoyoverse has introduced this character to us, and sort of like how they have sort of played their hand with this character and some of the future characters coming out. So let's talk about it. So I believe it was about 6 months ago in May that Hoyoverse put out a pre-release trailer for Honkai Star Rail. This generated a ton of hype for the game. A lot of players were really excited for a long time because we were always wondering what's coming next, what character's gonna get revealed next, what's the drip marketing gonna show next. There was always an air of mystery, but the hype of this has basically died out by now, because there's only one character left to actually be put out into the game from that original trailer, and most people don't even realize she was in the trailer because they snuck her in very sneakily. It's Shui Yi. She has yet to be announced. However, every other character is actually out in the game now. So the hype's kind of died, and it shows. I put out a poll recently asking players who they're going to be pulling for out of the upcoming banner, right? And every single time there's some character or a tie between characters, there's always some hype generated around one of the characters, or maybe even two. But for the first time ever, by the way, there's a skip button at the bottom, just so that players have it in case they felt like it. But for the first time ever in the entire game's lifespan, the skip button actually won the poll. I was pretty surprised about this, and it just goes to show that players aren't necessarily excited about what's going on right now as far as characters in the game. So what am I getting at? What am I waffling about here? I just feel like Hoyoverse could have done a little bit of a better job promoting characters like Topaz, Argenti, and Ho-Ho. Because what does this say for the next upcoming characters that we know that's coming? There's no hype generated behind them. You know, there's still time for 1.5 characters. They still have the special programming. They still have, you know, time to put out promotional for Ho-Ho and Argenti. What does that say for a character like Topaz that basically got no love? Sure, we got some lore out of Ethereum Wars, but it's basically like, boom, Ethereum Wars, then boom, her character. There's basically no build-up whatsoever. Topaz's fat, juicy ass is carrying part 2 of 1.4 all by itself. Now, Hoyoverse could tell they weren't going to make a lot of money in this banner. That's my prediction, that it's going to be the lowest earning banner in the entire game's lifespan so far, because they're pretty much telling us, because they're starting reruns now with Sela. You know, they generated no hype behind Topaz. They know it's not going to earn as much, so they decided to probably start it now with Sela. This was by design. So let me know what you guys think. Did they, you know, could they have done a better job promoting Topaz? Are you pulling Topaz? Don't get it twisted. I'm going to be pulling Topaz. So I just feel like a lot of players might get FOMO down the line having not pulled for Topaz because they didn't have enough excitement about her. Then other characters are going to come out and give her kind of like a little bit of a buff or a synergy that makes her really, really strong. Anyways, if you found this video entertaining or helpful in any way, shape, or form, please leave a like and subscribe, and maybe Topaz will let you touch her butt. Don't forget to put your input in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.